veterans and transitioning service members, basically people in the military world who are hoping to gain civilian employment at some point, should they use their military headshot in their LinkedIn profile picture? I get that question all the time, and I hear a lot of really bad advice about it. And I get why it's confusing. I get why there's not a simple answer, because we have assumptions on what that imagery inspires in other people. But our perception is different than maybe what's happening in the subconscious of those other people. I mean, and you know what I'm talking about. You know, the military headshot, everybody gets it. They put it on the wall if you're the whatever, the quarter. You know, you're all dressed up, your uniform's painted on, you're good to go. You're looking sharp, you're looking tough. You know the one. I did this. I did it. And I'm telling you right now that it's a bad idea. You know the photo? This one. Oh, this guy right here. Look at that. This picture can also be found in the encyclopedia under America. Look at that guy. I can almost hear a bald eagle crying in the distance. Look at that. And the thought process behind it in my brain, the thought process behind it was, people will see that picture and they'll say, here is a polished professional. Here is someone who is service oriented, someone who excels, someone who would be an asset, a leader. That was my assumption, because that's what I see when I look at that photo, or ones like it with other people. Because I know what it took to earn that uniform and to earn those stripes and to earn that hat. I remember. But we have to understand that people who are on the receiving end of that information that don't have context, they don't receive that information the same. They don't see that picture and have the context to know what it took to earn that. They don't have the context to understand that, no, I don't always look like I want to punch somebody in the face. It's just what happens when you put on that hat, like for the first time, and it hasn't been worked in yet, and it kind of like raises your eyebrows up. Anybody who's worn a campaign hat, who's been a basic training instructor, knows exactly what I'm talking about. Before you work the hat, and you can see in everybody's first MTI or DI photo, their eyebrows are like, you can see it. I look angry and tough, but I also look shocked. That's what the hat does. You put it on and it's not worked in yet, and it just tough guy. Perpetually shocked tough guy. Last week I had some technical difficulties, so please, if you cannot see or hear me, please throw it in the comments, friends. I'm going to leave that dapper gentleman up there for a couple of minutes. Woof. I mean, it's a good photo. Not for your LinkedIn profile. That was my LinkedIn profile picture. I did that myself. I'm telling you, it's wrong. It isn't. Well, it's not wrong. It's just not best practices. And it could actually realistically get in the way of your career development. Brian says, feels so unnatural. Yeah, putting that hat on for the first time. Woof. Oh, I've got a funny story. I'm going to share a funny story. So my very first day wearing my campaign hat, I had that thing on. I come out of the DFAC and I put it on, and I'm like, I got the lean on. You know the lean where it's like covering my eyes? It looks really tough. You can't see a thing, but it looks tough. So I put that on, and I'm strutting around. I'm ready to just light lighted up. And my military training instructor school instructor, the person who taught the MTIs, who was my classroom instructor, who I had just spent the last 16 weeks with, or whatever, earning my hat. I see him coming by, so I walk by, and he goes, "Oh, Sergeant Bratz, man, looking tough." I was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Yeah, you look great. You look really tough." I was like, "What? Okay, yeah, sir, you bet." He's like, "Yeah, boy, you just look just really polished and put together." It's like, "All right, thanks, man, I guess." He goes, "Let me take a picture of you." It's like, what is he talking about? He snags a picture of me and he goes, "Oh, man, that is a great picture. That's a fantastic picture, in fact. Man, you look great. You want to see it?" I was like, yeah, okay. He holds it up to me. My hat was on backwards. My hat was on backwards. So that little like emblem, that metal was like on the back side. My hat was on backwards. And it feels so unnatural at first when you're not used to wearing that hat that you can't tell the difference. I definitely couldn't tell the difference. I was strutting around with my hat on backwards. I wasn't intending on telling that story, but there it is. I think I need to put that guy down. Better put him down. All right, down you go. Bye. I'm going to tell you why I think this is a bad idea. Because it is a bad idea. If you want to get civilian post-service employment, even government post-service employment, it can harm your reacclimation and your reintegration. And then I'm going to show you exactly what to do instead. There's 2 routes you can take. One of them's free. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. If you are not super resource heavy, I wasn't. This is what I did at first. I love the auto volume on my microphone. I hate it. Get quiet all of a sudden. Having tech issues lately, but at least I'm showing up on LinkedIn. Ouch, yeah, you need that dent in there. Man, you work those hat. Now, if I were to put that hat on backwards, even now, all these years later, I'd be able to tell. And you can tell. You can see I still have a ridge there. Still have a ridge from where that hat sat. Only an instructor knows. Appreciate you tuning in, you commenting. Before I get into all this craziness, obviously, I would love for you to subscribe. And I am nearing very close to hitting my goal. My everybody sets goals, they're just arbitrary numbers, whatever. I've seen a lot of growth on my YouTube channel, The Thriving Veteran, this month. A ton of growth like I've never seen before, which is great because it shows that things are starting to roll, which is awesome. But my goal for the end of the month was to be over 600 subscribers there, and I think I'm at like 592 something. So if you're not subscribed to The Thriving Veteran on YouTube, man, run over there. Just click subscribe, click the bell, watch some cool veteran-centric content, whatever. I appreciate you. Folks, my name is Adam Bratz. That's what that little thing says right there. I need to move that down. It's like I can pick my nose with it. Okay, I'm a child. Anyways, America. All right, so why should you not have your tough guy photo? Your tough guy or tough gal, your military photo. Even if you're not trying to look tough, if you're smiling, if you are in uniform, why should that not be your LinkedIn profile picture? And I'm not talking about any other social networks. I don't care. I don't care about them. I'm talking about LinkedIn specifically right now. First, you need to dress for the job you want. Dress for the job you want. If you don't want to be wearing your uniform in the civilian office or in that GS position, there's probably a little more leeway, for government contracting or a GS position, government service or whatever. But you dress for the job you want. That you cannot ever have a strike against you for wearing professional business attire. You can, however, invoke in somebody negative feelings that they may not even be aware of that are subconsciously attached to that uniform and you wearing said uniform. Because not everybody really supports the military. Even the ones who say that they really support the military, there are some among them who support you, who would clap for you, who would say thanks for your service, who have magnetic ribbons on their cars. They wouldn't hire you. They're out there because somewhere in their brain they think that that uniform and that military service, because they don't have the context and they don't understand how diverse your training is, how diverse the people in the military are, the wide discrepancy in aptitude and ability and character between everybody and between different ranks. They don't get it. They don't know the difference between a sergeant and a general. They just don't. Most people don't. And so subconscious, some of them see that uniform, and this is a tough pill for some people to swallow. But it is the truth. In many situations, not every situation, but veterans often face discrimination, stereotyping, prejudice in the civilian workplace. They do. Some people see that uniform and without context, they think, thanks for your service. I support that guy in our country, or that guy or gal in our country. And, but then in the back of their head, they're thinking robotic, inflexible, short fused, not personable, especially if you got tough guy face on. You can't tell me that as a civilian with no context or experience working with military folks, or hardly any, you can't tell me that you look at this photograph right here and you see somebody that would be good to have in the office, that would be fun to have in the office. You see hard worker, not very fun. That guy doesn't look fun. It's a tough pill to swallow. Justin says, we've been handing out tough to swallow pills to all veterans. We'll need a Costco tub healing ointment for the butter of the pro vets. That's a comment of the day, Justin. It's a tough pill to swallow. It sucks because we're told, we got commercials. Guy coming home from the Toyota dealer. He just bought his new car. He's wearing his uniform because apparently on your way home from deployment, the first thing you do is you buy a Toyota. And on his way home, he's making it home for Christmas in his shiny new Toyota, still wearing his uniform for some reason, even though he had an opportunity to change. And he's driving by, and then he looks over, and all the snowmen on the street are saluting him. They've been set up to salute him. Or we see families propped up at the 50-yard line for reunion, for staged reunion stuff. The military pays professional sports organizations for that time to do that, by the way, because it gives everybody warm, fuzzy feelings. I didn't mean to go down this road. But we see that leading up to our time in the military, and we think everybody loves military members. Thanks for your service, right? And they'd say thanks for your service, and people would deny. Nobody would say outwardly. Well, very few people would say outwardly, "Screw the troops." And thank goodness. I mean, this is not Vietnam. This is not what my dad went through after he got done with his rotation in Vietnam, getting spit on in Madison. And thank goodness it's not that. But there is a subconscious bias that is more damaging, that can be more damaging. It's a little more subversive. It's a little more tricky, because I may think that somebody says, thanks for your service, and they really appreciate it, and they understand. We appreciate veterans over here. But in the back of that person's head, they would never hire me in a million years. They'd never hire that guy. Not fun to have around the office. You got to dress for the job you want. Because without that, you will look other, different, other than. You will look like you don't fit. or that you're not going to fit if hired. You look like a square peg in a round hole. Justin says, I had to explain to someone what military grade really means. Expensive, not necessarily quality. They had no clue. An hour isn't enough time for this. Oh boy, you're getting into some stuff here. We should just have like a rant throwdown one of these days. But that's why you just shouldn't do it. You need to dress for the job you want and show your potential civilian or post-service employers, GS, contract, civilian, private, nonprofit, whatever, that you belong there. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. Deal with it. It just is. All right, so what should you do instead? What should you do instead? My first piece of advice, and this is dependent upon your resources, is I strongly recommend getting a professional portrait, a headshot done. And I talk about this all the time. Folks, it is so important. And yeah, $200-$300, maybe more. Yes, for one shot. One picture. One, maybe two pictures. Two different looks. And you may think, like, that is nuts. Oh, Rennie says, oh, that's a good one. Yeah, they won't spit at you, but they will spite you. Yeah, you're darn right. A little more underhanded. And they don't even know they're being underhanded, but it is. Justin says, I think the employer's military means rigid, which can be true. Yeah, it can be. But it also means that E2 to E6 are probably the most flexible people in the world when needed. We can be fluid or rigid or a hybrid of the two, you bet. And they're like, being in the military doesn't mean someone's a good leader. I love that, like, oh man, we just hired a veteran, so he's going to be a great leader. Not necessarily. Eric says sometimes it feels as if some employers overlook a person's military experience and do see it as a value to the role. Sometimes it feels as if some employers overlook a person's military experience and do see it as value to the role that someone is applying to. Some employers do. Absolutely. And like, similar to how it would be wrong to typecast all veterans, it would be wrong to typecast all employers, because there are some employers who really get it, who really understand the tangibles, the non-tangibles, the soft skills, the office skills that military members bring to the table. Oh, Eric meant as see it as no value to the role that someone is applying to. Well, that's the thing. Oh man, we could go down a rabbit hole here, but I'll just touch on this really quick, Eric, because that's a really good point. Yes, veterans face prejudice in the workplace. That is a fact. I can tell you. However, a veteran's post-service employment prospects, the responsibility for that does not rest solely upon the employer. That's a cop-out. The onus is on the veteran to prepare themselves properly for their transition. The unfortunate part is sometimes they don't know how to do that, or they don't know that they need to do it or take it seriously because they haven't been mentored. They haven't been trained. Nobody told them. They don't know what they don't know. But it's their responsibility to ensure their post-service needs are met and their family's needs are met and their career needs are met, their lifestyle needs are met, et cetera, et cetera. It's their responsibility. They do have unique hurdles because they are veterans. And I try to talk on both ends. I try to talk to employers and say, suck less. And I try to talk to veterans and say, suck less. And every time I talk to veterans and say, suck less, there's always somebody who's like, yeah, but the employers, they make it hard. It's like, I never said they didn't. Of course they do. And if I have videos out there where I'm like, employers, suck less, you're prejudiced and you're doing this for hiring, there's always somebody that's like, well, it's the veteran's fault. I got a job. If they didn't get a job, then they're slackers. It's on them. I'm like, I never said it wasn't. Folks, more than one thing can be true at the same time. I mean, we are so polarized right now. Everything is black or white, yes or no, on or off, light switch up, light switch down. And we neglect to accept that there is nuance, that there is a spectrum between each pole, a wide variety, a 3D sphere of all these different possibilities and different combinations of possibilities that can be true. It's infuriating. I'm not saying it's on the veteran. I'm not saying it's on the people who want to employ veterans, or it's on the employers or the civilians who are receiving these veterans. It's on both. It's also on the facilitators at TAPS. It's also on the military for not prioritizing it in their education from the onset. It's everybody's fault. There are failures everywhere. And that's why I talk about what I talk about. Because there's failures everywhere. Sometimes employers, you're right, Eric, and I'm not yelling at you. Your comment was awesome. Sometimes people see that the military experience doesn't bring value to the role. Well, I can tell you, and you know that it does. Those soft skills, those, non-technical secondary skills, sometimes leadership skills, sometimes logistics and operations skills. They can bring a lot to a table depending on the discipline and the industry and the position that they're applying for. However, if that veteran does not have direct technical aptitude, then those secondary skills don't matter. I could have a mountain of secondary skills, and a veritable mountain. I could be the king of soft skills. I know how to do everything around the office and lead and engage it. Like, I could have that perfectly. But if I'm not an architect and I don't know how to draft a diagram or a schematic of a building, an architectural firm is not going to hire me, and they shouldn't. Does that mean that employer doesn't see value in my secondary skills? No, it just means that technically I am not fit for the position I'm applying for. You got me off on a tangent. I appreciate these comments. Got me on a soapbox. Yeah, recruiters start it. When you're a veteran, the world will bow to you. Ooh, recruiters. They'll say whatever they can. Let's see. Inactive duty military and veterans are pumped up beyond belief. TAP says, go slay the civilian world. Yeah, I've heard like, oh, your skills are worth 6 figures in the civilian world. No, they aren't. Not necessarily. Commercials say support our troops and veterans, so it's easy to believe that people leaving the service will get out and say, take care of me, instead of saying, one chapter closed, let's start a new one. Yep. But I mean, if there's anything across the board, veterans, you have to take responsibility. And it's our responsibility, people who understand this, to evangelize for that and to talk to people who are in and people who are transitioning and tell them just how serious the transition is and just what a challenge it is and what they need to know about it. That's why there's so many people in this space. Hey, Christina, it's been a while. Let's see, a balance of technical and soft skills is important. Yeah, you bet. Balance is really important. But if you don't have the technical skills, you're not going to get a job, and you shouldn't. I'm worth 6 figures. Can you tell my employer? Beating off the CEO job offers with a stick. All right, so anyways, back to get a professional headshot. Yes, it's expensive. You will use that photo for the next 5 years. And it's more than just like a high definition camera that some guy is pressing click on and sending to you. A real talented professional photographer will be able to draw something out of you that you could not do yourself. They will position you in a way where it is flattering and it is photogenic, but then they will also, if they're good at what they do, they will draw something out of you that they can capture. And you will only really appreciate the difference when you have a good professional headshot. And then you'll be like, oh man, I couldn't have done that at home. So that's that first step. That's what to do instead. If you have the resources, you will never regret the money that you invest in that. Never, ever, ever. Same with like resume help. Those are two things that you'll never regret spending money on. But if you don't have the resources to hire a professional portrait headshot guy, guy or gal, which I strongly suggest you do, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it yourself for free and to do a good job with it. Before I share that last point, and I'm going to go step by step, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you all of it. And Before I get to that point, I just want to say I've been talking about this a lot lately. Remember, veterans, caregivers, dependents, all of you, if you want to make some quick money, and this sounds like a used car salesman pitch, but I promise you this is real. If you want to get paid to help the VA improve their suite of web-based, browser-based, and mobile apps, everybody here, I strongly encourage you. I've done this personally myself. It helps. It makes a difference. Go to veteranusability.us. You fill out a quick survey. They send you $5, a $5 Amazon gift card in the mail right away. Then you get emailed for opportunities for either web-based surveys or like Zoom remote facilitated, like interviews, questionnaires. Takes less than an hour. I did, and then they mail you a check. It was that simple. Like I signed up, I got my $5 gift card. Less than 12 hours later, I got an email saying, "Hey, are you interested in this?" I said, "Yep." I did less than an hour facilitated study with a super nice person, and then I got mailed a check for $50. Like it was in my mailbox 6 days later. I mean, it is the easiest $50 you'll ever make. I'm not making it up. This is real. The company has been doing this with the VA for almost 8 years now. Those are the VA contracts. Again, I'm not making it up. Look it up if you have to. This is a real thing. Check out the VA contract. Everyone should do this. If you've noticed the difference that's been made in improving the VA suite of apps in the intuitiveness and the usability of those, it's because of this. So you can make a difference, get paid to do it. So everybody should do that. I'm going to be talking about this a lot lately. It has a massive impact on ease of use for veterans, dependents, and caregivers to improve ease of access. So how do I, site can't be reached, veteranusability.us. Never mind fat fingers. It can be reached. I'm going to put that back up there. Veteranusability.us. I'm serious. So what do you do instead of this and you don't have the scratch? Everybody's got a phone in their pocket or knows somebody who has a relatively new iPhone. You might even have an iPhone with portrait mode. That's helpful. You or that person, always get somebody to help you too if you can, or get a tripod set up, because like selfie mode, you're never going to get a good angle with that. In front of a plain background, not textured, not colorful, not loud, whatever, get a picture of you, preferably on portrait mode, high def, whatever. Have somebody take it of your upper torso to over your head. Then what? You want to know? Then what? I'm going to share my screen right now. Let's see, share screen, window, booyah, share. Oh, I got to get rid of that overlay. Okay, so I took this picture of myself. Let's say that's the picture that I took. Let's see, comments. Heading out for a meeting, but thank you for your valuable insights. All right, I'm going to show you exactly how I do this, and it's going to be really quick. You can go back and watch this on YouTube. Look for The Thriving Veteran. All right, if you need to review it, but I'm going to go really quick. Okay, so this obviously needs to get cropped. Go to Canva, canva.com. They have a free trial on their premium features. I'm going to square this up. First thing I need to do is resize it. All right, I'm going to go 1200 by 1200. Still want it to be relatively high def. All right, it's a good photo, don't you think? All right, so that's me. Obviously, you want to be smiling in your headshot. Statistically, it's been proven that people think that you're more easier to engage with and more personable if you're smiling in your headshot. I know. But anyway, oh my gosh, what am I doing? What just happened? All right, so first thing I'm going to do, this background is distracting. I have two options. I can either lighten the background or I can cut out the background. First thing I'm going to do is showing you cutting it out. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to say edit image, and I'm going to click on BG remover or background remover right there. It's going to think for a minute. It's going to cut out the background. This is super easy. There it is, done. I click apply. I wait a second. There I am. Beautiful. Okay. If you have it covering the entire space, it'll get locked to the background. You don't want that. So leave a little bit of gap. All right. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Okay. So background on LinkedIn, stuff that punches really gets people's attention. Red is a bad color. Red is a distracting color on people's eyes. So what I would suggest is to pick something that stands out, but is not in the red spectrum, or pink. Maybe pink. Pink and purple is fine. Red, that's some people use red. It is distracting to people's eyes. All right. So I'm going to go with blue because blue is my color. All right. Now I have two options. I'm going to go to edit image. I'm going to go shadows, and I'm going to add a glow. See how that adds a little bit of glow around the background? And if you click on that again, you can adjust it. See how the size just got bigger? I wouldn't make that bigger. So it's personal preference here is I would have it maybe around between 6 and 8. That makes you stand out a little bit more. The other thing that you can do, oh, see, I got tied to the background. The other thing that you can do that some people prefer, that is a good look these days, is edit image, shadows, go to glow, click on it again, transparency up, blur down, go with a white instead of black, and then that is a look that a lot of people do these days, having that white there. So that's one option. And then you can have a background that is patterned, and there is a free version of Canva that's spectacular, that gives you a lot of these options. So I can go with a textured background. There's grass. Here's transparency, move it down a little bit, and I'm going to make it blue. There we go. There's some texture. Beautiful. You've got a lot of options here. I could do a pattern. Make sure it's just not something that is too loud. If it is a pattern, have it be subtle and repetitive. All right, so let me see. Recently, here we go. Patterns. Subtle and repetitive. That's a little busy, but if I bring the transparency down, that's not so bad. There you go. I would go with a darker color, personally. Excellent. Hey, I can stick with that. That's great. Now, if I want my face to stick to punch a little bit more, it's very shadowy in this photo. So I go to edit image, I go to adjust. I usually bring the brightness up a little bit, bring the contrast up a little bit, and then I go blur in the negative. And look at how sharp that gets. If I go too far, that's way too sharp. But if I go a little bit, it just adds a little bit of definition to it. Okay, and play around with those. Highlights, you can move up. Shadows, you can move down, whatever. Just to make that punch a little bit and to maybe reduce the way that the shadows take over the photo. So that's one option. And let me go back here. I'm going to go back. Look at me. All right. Go back to the original picture. All right. So here's the original photo. Let's say I want to keep this original background. I'm going to make a copy of me. Here's a copy of me. And I'm going to attach that to the background. So since that fills the entire area, it is locked to the background. So what I'm going to do is on this other photo, I'll do what I did before, and I'm going to do a background remover. I'm going to apply that. So now I have two Adams. I have Adam with a background, and I have Adam without a background, right? I just don't want this to... All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take Adam with a background, and I'm going to make it more transparent. And then I'm going to throw Adam with a background right over top. See what happened there? So basically that took the background and faded it out, and it did it in a more precise fashion than using an effect would for that. So then I would do as I did before. Let me just make sure that this lines up here. I would do as I did before, same thing, edit image. In this case, I would go with a glow, with a dark glow or a light glow, depending on just how it reacts to the background and your skin tone and colors of the picture and whatever. You can even tint that background picture. Let me see here. If you want, let's see, I have the transparency down, so I can, yeah, I can, well, not red. Red is not a fun color on the eyes. Here, there we go, blue. So I tinted it with a little bit of blue, And there I am on top. Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Got a little distorted there for a second. I think that's because of my screen share. Okay, that's how you do that. And that, if you use the background remover, I think you have to have premium for, Canva premium for. And I think there's a free trial for that. Everything else you can do, everything else that I just did, you can do for free on Canva, Canva. If you learn how to use Canva, it will save you so much money and time hiring this sort of stuff out. You have no idea. And so that right there, obviously, you wouldn't be making a goofy face, but those are how you can import and edit your photo. Let me stop the screen share. So there you have it. I would like everyone here, well, before I answer these last questions, you guys have been so involved today, and I really appreciate it. I did not plan on going 40 minutes. I was going to go like 20 minutes, but y'all got me on a soapbox. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. If you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, what are you doing? And don't forget, please, friends, there's that big subscribe button, The Thriving Veteran, over on YouTube. Let me get to these questions here before I call it a day. Justin said, if TAPS did two things, one, help them get a headshot, the value of TAPS would increase 100. Yeah. Also, they would help the transition to translate what their job was and what skills they acquired. It would help tremendously. Yeah. And the TAPS has improved a lot. My understanding is it's improved a lot since, like we've gotten out. So I can't speak from experience since they revamped it. It's just anecdotal based on what people are saying. But I agree. Headshot would be a great part of it. Be a great part of it. That would be money well spent if these TAPS offices would bring in a professional headshot person. Maybe there are a lot of veteran headshot professionals out there. All right. Veteran usability site was super easy. Yeah, it's super easy. It takes 2 minutes. And then if you're eligible, they send you $5 for your time. And then you'll start getting emails. And sometimes they'll be for like broad things. Like, hey, if you're a vet, do you want to do this? Or sometimes they'll be like, are you a vet using ed benefits? Or are you a dependent using ed benefits? Or whatever information they need to collect. And then you opt in or opt out. There's no time commitment. You do it on your own time. Super easy. Please do it. All right. Brian says, Justin, they really need a coaching program where a recently transitioned vet can coach you in real time. Yeah. Would have been nice to have a friendly face when I was getting punched out of here. You guys, your dialogue today has been very encouraging. I am super stoked. What an invigorating thing. He's back. Don't do this. Wrong hand. Don't do that. Don't do that. Wear a collar or a blouse. Put a smile on your face. Have a relatively new iPhone take a photo or use portrait mode. Go give it a little bit of love in Canva or some other app to make it pop. It'll make a huge difference. I think you'll see a difference in how people engage with you when you remove your military photo. If you're still in the military and you have years before you transition, fine. That's what you really want. But if you're like a year out from transitioning and you're starting to really network powerfully as you should for post-service employment, you need to change that photo. And I told you why. Connect with me here on LinkedIn, folks. Be doing this a lot more frequently. See you next week around the same time. Who knows what I'll talk about? Connect with me and follow and stay tuned. Peace.